Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher! And of course, as we come up to the big end of 2014, Warlords has got its feet nice and settled. No complaints going on so far. Best expansion ever, in my opinion. Really, really is. I just glued to it all the damn time. So hard to actually tear myself away to make some content, but we're getting back on track and that's all good. All good. Blizzard, in their kindness, has given us a little glimpse into what's being thrown around the table. And that's what we always need to bear in mind with these things. These are things that are thrown around as ideas. Ideas on the table that may or may not even happen. We've got to remember, player housing was on this table at one point. You know, dance studios, all that kind of stuff we've been talked about, where you sort of like given glimpses of this thing. But players often read this and go, oh my god, this is like in the game now, right? This is going to happen next week. No, some of this stuff might have never even come to fruition, and we've got to bear that in mind. Blizzard's quite cool about releasing some of this stuff. A lot of companies wouldn't. They wouldn't put the ideas, the cloud out there, because you know what players are like. The players react so bizarrely to information. As clear as day, this is stuff that's like, maybe, maybe not. You know, we've got some stuff that might come to the PTR. We'll give it a look, see if it's like it, all that kind of stuff. So we'll have a quick glimpse through it. Some of it's less important than other things, so we'll be focusing on certain topics that I think are worthy of discussion. If there's something you think I skimmed over, feel free to let me know. Tweet me or something like that, and maybe we'll have a revisit. The legendary stuff, who gives a shit? I like the opening line is like, oh, I hope everyone is enjoying the legendary quest line. Yeah. What? Okay, sure. Yeah, I love collecting stones. I did this in MOP, and it was great then too. /sarcasm. I don't know what they're thinking with that thing, but whatever. The legendary follower is on his way. Hardly surprising. Hardly surprising. Will it have anything special? Don't know. Could be excited to get something worthwhile. I'm getting more and more into the idea of having the bodyguard around. Recently managed to get my wingman in Leo. And yeah, that's working out quite well for me. I'm actually starting to get used to having him around if I'm going out doing solo stuff. If I'm doing some reputation or perhaps just bobbing out to do something down in Nagrand or farm something. Well, farm. Trade post, bro. Then I'm getting used to having my bodyguard around, and he's certainly a help. It's nice having someone just healing me, giving me bloodlust, and helping with DPS. It's really nice. So will a legendary follower come with some bodyguard applications or something really interesting? I don't know. There's a world of endless ideas that could come with a legendary follower rather than the legendary follower having, say, 3 traits and 4 passives or whatever. Something boring like that. Hopefully it will be involved in some guy who can come out in the world. Obviously we'd hope to have some choice in that. They do say there's some abilities coming. I'm skipping ahead a little bit in customizing your followers a bit more, which is something I would really like to see. I would really like to see. As much as I love Leo Raj and the idea of a legendary follower is great, I would certainly like to customize him so it's not a case of the cloaks. Everybody has the cloak and therefore it's boring. I would like to customize them in some fashion. Pepe's favourite new feature. We're working on the ability to send out tweets, including screenshots, directly from the game. Alright. I don't know what to say. About loot drops. Okay. I guess. I mean, I had a lucky coin yesterday on Mythic Ogron. I managed to coin the Mythic Warforged axe, which was great. It was really fun. Only to spam Ghosty with, because he doesn't have it. But would I tweet that out to you guys? Probably not. But there are more people who care about loot than I do, and maybe they would do something like that. So, yeah, sure. Okay. Fine. Not something I'm excited about, but there it is. Flightmaster competency. This is basically new. It's a bit fancy way of saying that you won't have to fly through all the flight points to get to where you're going. This is a very roundabout way of saying that simple statement is, yeah, currently if you want to fly somewhere, you have to travel through the flight points associated with it along the path. But now we'll just make it so you can just go directly to the target. So, which is cool. We should have had that probably a long time ago. But it does kind of cement the idea we're not... This is what I read into this. Is we're not going to get flying. Thank God. I just don't miss it. It's not necessary. Please just keep it out of the game. I see people all the time when I'm out and about of the world. Especially if you're going to the places like Nagrand, where you're going to do stuff, where you're doing like the daily pit. All that kind of stuff. Really cool just to see players around. I have never randomly grouped with as many people as I have in just the last weeks of Mr. Warlords of Draenor. Through the entire history of WoW, I have never just gone up to... I love this. You go to a zone, and there's people doing all kinds of stuff. There's people looking for rares. They're moping around. They're on the ground. They're looking at these things where they would usually miss them. They're doing the shard dailies. You go down... Who does a shard daily on their own anymore? Nobody. You go down, you're instantly in a raid. There's things going on all around the world. I love it. It feels busy. Especially on my server. It feels wonderfully busy. I love that. All about that bass. I fucking hate that song, man. It's so bad. Anyway. Garrison Improvements and tweaks. Blizzard's obviously realised very clearly, as many of you have, that the garrisons are awesome and people absolutely love them. If you've got a large guild and you check your guild list, no doubt that at least 50% of the people are in their garrison doing stuff. They're doing invasions, and I think this is where they really need to go with the next level. Level 4 buildings are obviously coming, and probably more than that going ahead. So they're going to probably look at them. Judging from this, maybe at 6.1, we'll start seeing some level 4 stuff coming in and what will be involved in that. But more importantly, I think the big focus here is correct, is that it will be upscaling the stuff to do with friends in your garrison. The invasions, while boring, and that's fair to say, the invasions aren't particularly interesting, they're just a mob grind. To make them far more interesting would be better. Would be a real boost to the garrison system, is to make those invasions far more worthwhile, because that's great. Get your people into your garrison. Every time I've made a raid on the stream or something like that, people are floating around my garrison, they're visiting things, they're dancing on my garrison table, all this kind of stuff. People commenting on your garrison, had that as well. I like that kind of stuff. It's not player housing, but it's as close as we're going to get, probably. And making stuff that works well with friends. They've talked about this, again, a very long-winded way of basically saying there will be group quests in your garrison to do stuff. But world bosses, obviously it'll be, I would imagine that's going to be something along the lines of a 5-man boss rather than a world boss. But we'll see. It's nice that they're pushing that. It's really nice that they're pushing that. New items to change your followers really should be... one of my side projects right now is working on making sure every single follower is geared up for the next stage, because there's bound to be a next stage of gearing up, and no doubt ways of skipping ahead a little bit. But while we're in this free time of garrison resources and churning things out through the war mill and all that kind of stuff, it's nice to get everybody geared up for whatever the next stage is, should they need a minimum item level, all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to see that they're going to just focus so heavily on the garrisons. Not surprising, but nice to see it confirmed, and especially with things involving friends. I think that's a great idea. I love seeing people asking for invasions. Come to my base, who's got an invasion? Let's go and do this. The invasions themselves, not great, but we still want to do them. It's a nice, easy way of getting plenty of gear in a nice, fun manner. New ways to play. We're exploring the possibility of players to buy tradable in-game tokens. The initial reaction to this from a small circle I was talking to was like, oh my god, they're introducing gold buying into WoW. Well, let's make sense of what it is. You can basically pay for your subscription with gold. If you don't have gold, but you have money, which tends to be the flip reverse situation, which is I get to log in every now and again. I certainly don't have time to, say, create things for the auction house. I want to get in and I want to upgrade my character in some fashion. I cannot make a lot of gold. I don't have the extra resources to sell to things to make gold. I'm lucky if I get some out of a salvage crate, but that's rare. I do my follower missions once a day, and then I check them the next day, that kind of thing, or maybe in a couple of days. Those guys who are out working their ass off but have plenty of real-life cash. They have a lot of disposable income, and I'm more than happy to, pay for some tokens, give someone who has a lot of gold, a lot of in-game time already in use, to trade off, and therefore they have a lot of gold, they can buy things quicker, and it sort of evens out the economy. More importantly, it's the best way of killing gold sellers. This system exists in many other games, including WildStar, and it was successful there. People loved that. People absolutely adore paying for their game time with gold. EVE survived on that for fucking generations. Generations of people just playing the game for free because they're in-game quite a lot, or they're good with their money, they're good with the auction system, and therefore they get to pay their game with that, and then they have a more enjoyable experience on the other end. But more importantly, though, it does kill the gold sellers. As long as this is for a reasonable price, which I'm sure Blizzard is aiming for, then hopefully that will have a severe impact, because players don't want to risk their accounts, but sometimes they need gold for whatever reason. I know many of you out there will be like, well, I am dripping in gold. A lot of players aren't. They just aren't. They just don't have the game time. They want to get stuff from the auction house, and people charge absurd prices for crazy stuff. Glad to see that's finally going away. But still, people just don't have a lot of gold. They don't have a lot of time to create the gold. In order to create gold, you certainly need time. You need resources. You need materials. You need to be doing something in the game to produce that gold. It doesn't just appear every day. And there you go. If you don't have that time, you're not going to get a lot of gold, but you still want to play the game. I get it. It also reduces the huge gold inflation, dragging gold out of the economy. I'm sure the people with the millions of gold wouldn't mind spending quite a bit on not spending IRL cash. If you have a lot of excess gold lying around, you probably do want to spend it on that. And that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. In full support of this. Full support of this. Gold sellers and bots and all that kind of stuff are only going to be killed if there's a better, safer way to do it. It's not like gold buying doesn't exist, and that's what I think a lot of players got hung up on. Oh my god, Blizzard's introducing gold buying. Gold buying exists. It's already a thing. Just Google it. 1 million websites will pop up who will sell you lots of gold, and it happens all the time. all the time, guys. It really does. It's a constant process. Otherwise, these websites wouldn't exist. Somebody is buying that gold. Somebody is using bots because people are purchasing what they create. It's as simple as that. It really is. So in order to make that safer, and to introduce this kind of system into WoW, all for it. And game time is one of the easiest ways of doing it. It takes a lot of gold out of the economy. It also allows people to spread their weight and not be looking to things like gold sites, especially if you look at somebody who's just started WoW as a Draenor. Let's imagine you're a raider, but you're literally only game time that you get away from family, kids, friends, or whatever in your real life and work is to log in and raid. And you wanted stuff like the BOEs, which were very, very good, and they were going for like 50,000, 70,000, 80,000 gold, and you're like, I just don't have the playtime to kind of generate that amount of money, and my guild can't sustain it. But I'm working all the time. This is why I have limited game time. I have a lot of disposable income, and they start looking towards gold websites, right? They start doing that. So I think this system is a great solution to that. Great solution. And those who have a lot of gold, sure, you're going to make some good time out of it. A lot of gold, you're going to save a lot of RL money, which a lot of people with huge amounts of game time, let's face it, tend to not be working as much and maybe have less money. Not always the case, obviously, but it's wonderful. Collecting your heirlooms, it doesn't affect me at all, as there's no character I need heirlooms on, but I'm pretty happy to see it will be unified. I have a lot of heirlooms, which are useless now. I've even considered getting rid of them, because they take up almost a full bank on one of my characters. So to have that merged into one, fantastic. A clear development path. There are so many people who don't know that you can upgrade your heirlooms, that system has been has actually been around since Mists of Pandaria. It's been there and just sitting there doing nothing. And so it's wonderful to see that they're actually bringing that in and just making it easier. Everybody's happy with like the toy box system, the mount page, all that kind of stuff is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It makes life so much easier, especially now we are being more unified in terms of our accounts rather than characters. I think this is the best way to go. I'm sure at some point we'll see things more like this, such as more discussion going on about, say, a unified bank that goes between all your characters, like a store box from Resident Evil. That kind of idea. It's got limited spots, but you can in fact transfer stuff and bank stuff that can move between characters on the same account without having to just mail it all the time. And that kind of system's coming. It's more coming. Esports in. This one was the one that surprised me, and I can't see it as anything more than lip service. I've got to be honest. Is allowing anybody to run an online tournament. We're excited to see tournaments run in 2015. Yeah, I've watched a couple of them. I've watched a couple of the online PvP tournaments, and they tend to be a farce. And the reason they're a farce is they tend to be very stagnant setups that counter certain things, and they're not balanced. One of the reasons I dislike PvP. And in general, esports in WoW, in terms of its PvP, has been a laughing joke ever since it tried to make it happen in the MLG days when they were broadcasting WoW Arena and it was dropped. But people still do it and people still love it. There's no doubt if you look at, say, a Twitch page, you'll see that the PvPers generally rack up way more views because people love watching PvP and love people kicking ass. So to support that in some fashion, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Go ahead. If you guys still love that stuff, and there's lots of people who do, then go for it. Absolutely go for it. Allow some tournaments to be run. Maybe add some more legitimacy to it. But ultimately, it's not balanced. It says esports in. It's kind of like you can run a tournament, okay? We're going to make it easier because most people have to wait until the PTR is up to run a tournament. It's the only fair way to allow tournaments to exist and gear not to be a huge factor is to allow them to do it on the PTR, which is why when the PTRs are up, you'll tend to see a lot of WoW arena tournaments pop up. So I think that's very cool. I think that's very cool. It's a nice way to find things like new casters, a nice way to see players in a competitive area. I just hope, and I've got to say this, I hope that the PvP players get a little bit more friendly about the situation instead of really shitting on each other a lot. I know that's part of the ethos of the WoW PvP community, but for me it really lets the side down because people look from the outside and, oh, that arena was really cool, I'm going to check out a forum, I'm going to go see things, and then they see people just shitting on each other. You're a ban, you're a retard, you're cheater, you all this blah blah blah, you're DDoSing people, and that's all I see in the arena forums, and I don't check them very often, believe me, but when I have checked into them for bigger videos and legacy videos and all that kind of stuff, that is the environment I find. It's a very toxic environment outside of game, and I hope that changes a little bit because it puts a real downer on the whole thing for me. You're more beautiful every day. As discussed in a recent preview, new Blood Elf models going. Don't care. They couldn't tell the difference. Honestly, I couldn't tell the difference. Ashrad so far, we're continuing to focus. I've got to be honest with you guys. I'd like to talk about this, but I have been playing pretty much non-stop since WoD dropped. I have still yet to do anything in Ashram. Total honestly. There are people there all day, every day. I have yet to even investigate that part of the game. I am not done by a long shot of doing the things on my main character and obviously sorting out the rest of my characters to make guides for you guys, which is starting to produce. So I can't really comment on this. As far as Ashran is concerned, I haven't even uncovered the map. I've been to the little city area and then I leave. I haven't done anything else. Game Ogre. This is the one that I think is, again, more interesting and wise by Blizz. Wise. Yes, Highmaul Mythic was cleared in its first week. But I could tell you from someone who's taken a step down from cutting edge raiding and having a more relaxed raiding atmosphere by choice, is that I'm quite happy to see Foundry delayed a little bit because there's lots of people struggling in Highmaul right now because it's great, well designed, great mechanics, not unfair. And that's great stuff because it's all about stuff you can defeat. You know when you pull that boss. We can do this boss, we just need not to screw up. And that's great. We got some nice mythic progress going on. I've no doubt we'll clear it well before Foundry comes out. And I'm more than happy with that to happen. So I'm glad they've actually delayed Foundry until February. That's pretty cool for me, in my opinion. I think that's awesome. I really do think that's cool. So no complaints from me. They also said there's more to come. That's cool. That's cool. More to come. But so glad they managed to reveal some of this information for us. So I hope that was enjoyable enough for my opinion on the matter. Nothing negative coming out of that at all. Nothing negative. Not stuff that affects me personally and some of it, but the stuff that does, I can appreciate it. Alright guys, love to see your thoughts on it. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.